Okay, I have some questions for Fernanda for her presentation. I have do some tests from cognitive tests with some older adults with my cognitive troubles. I have a question, how this game can be introduced with this population. We know how it's difficult sometimes to do the test, and sometimes we gonna trigger some comportments or different components with older, and how this could be tested with this older adults with mild cognitive troubles. How you gonna think to do that in different settings, in nursing homes? How do you reflect about that?
Okay, I hope to have understood well your question because it's a bit far.
Do you want to repeat the question? Do you listen to us? Je sais pas si on l'a perdu.
On n'entend rien. On l'a perdu.
We lost you. We are sorry.
So I believe that the question was more regarding the applicability of the game, right? How it can be used by all the adults.
J'ai pas tout bien entendu. Mais...
On n'entend pas grand-chose.
Nous, on n'a pas de retour, on entend faiblement.
How do you think to test that on older adults in different settings? Nursing home, hospitals, general medicine practitioner?
The verification procedure will be conducted in 2 stages. The first stage, I will demonstrate the game and ask feedback from healthcare professionals. In a second stage, I will ask all the adults to play the game, and I will administer the Montreal Cognitive Assessment with them as well and compare the scores obtained in the game and in the Montreal Cognitive Assessment to confirm if I can find a positive correlation in these scores.
Okay, thank you so much. There was a question before. Can we play with this game now or not? Is it available?
So the game will probably be available in 2 months. We are having a team of game developers now working on this game. And we are making some improvements, and very soon it will be available.
Okay, thank you so much. We're gonna begin with the questions of the roundtable. What can gamification or serious game bring to the development of all professional skills compared to more traditional learning approach? We're gonna have here Yacine Rikik speakers before, and Sandra Schweighöser she's gonna present herself.
Hello, good morning, everybody. So my name is Sandra Schweighöser. I am working at CHUV, Centre Hospitalier Universitaire Vaudois, as in the DSI, so Département des Services de l'Information, and I am leading the digital transformation initiative as well as change management.
Who wants to answer to the question, what can gamification or serious game can bring to development of professional skills compared to more traditional learning approach?
So maybe from my perspective, currently we are assessing several pedagogic methodology to train our personnel. Not only caregiver, but also all the administrative IT personnel For example, currently we are assessing cyber attacks and cyber risk as a very, very important issue for a hospital. And we are now trying to find the best serious game we could customize based on hospital issue regarding cyber attack. So this is something, you just mentioned that during your presentation. It is important to immerse people and also to have this immersion and also tabletop training in order to have the right reaction the day you really have in the hospital a cyber attack. So for us, it's a key element of training our personnel.
Thank you so much. This is a very important issue for safety patient. Cyber attacks, we know that in Deutschland there is Germany was a hospital cyber attack, and there was unfortunately a death of patient about that. I think it's an important issue for now.
It's important, and with a serious game you can really make this immersion. And not only the caregiver, but also IT administrative personnel needs to be trained. What is the right behavior at this time?
Yes.
Can I add something? Yeah. Of course, the question is very large, broad, and it's difficult to answer it in a precise way. But let me give two levels of answers. The first one, I think that what can games and games technology brings to the training is all the technological advances we have in this sector. We have to remember that the gaming industry have helped us to have many amazing technologies. For example, computer graphics have made a lot of progress thanks to gaming and gaming actors. Developing, for example, multi-users application with high level of interaction and communication is also not only due to games, but games contributes to that. So the first level of answer is that the game technology by itself give us a lot of new technologies, new way of designing applications, focusing on ergonomy, on usability, on high interaction. And all this, if we bring it even in classical applications, it's by itself an added value, a big added value, because we have also to consider that the users of now are not the users of 20 years ago. The users of now are people raising with gaming, with touch screens, etc. It's a kind of extension of their body. They are used to that, and if you give them old-fashioned applications, for them it's Moyen Age. So things progress a lot. So already for that we have a lot to learn about gaming technologies, game design, etc., in order to enhance the usability and the interaction and the realism of the application. Now, if we go to the second level, do gamification by itself bring something to the classical way of learning and training? The experience and my little experience shows that it is not something mandatory. We don't need it in all time. But what is proved is that gaming always enhance the motivation of people, and especially the motivation for midterm or long-term motivation, because the short-term motivation we can have it mainly. So you develop something new, you want to test it. Okay, this is the short-term motivation, and if you ask someone to use a new tool, in general, just by curiosity, he wants to test it. But this is for the first time, second time. But if you want something to run and to be used for 3 years, 4 years, every month, every week, or whatever, at any frequency, you need mid and long-term motivations. And for that, the gamification and the serious gaming way to do things can help a lot for this mid-term and long-term motivation. And this has been proved in many cases and for a lot of projects. This is what I can say for now. Perhaps I can get more ideas.
It's a mix of certain approach. You have to have serious game, you have to have traditional approach, but you have to mix it.
Of course, the big issue always is to have the good dosage, the good mixture between all that. Because if you as I said before, for example, the experience I have described before of gamifying a situation of childbirth, many times people spend 1 hour trying to solve the enigmas, etc., and they forget totally the purpose of the training, which is to save the woman. And this is let's say the side effects of gamification is we can go to and especially if the process is serious or is critical, etc. So there is something to be careful about, and this is why the gamification or because it's different. Serious gaming is something, gamification is other things. But for both of them, we have to find the good, as I said, mixture. And we have also to think a lot about, are there an added value to do that or not? Because if is it only aesthetic or to follow the wave, it's not the objective. The objective is to bring something. So, for example, let's come back again to my presentation. The work I have done, I added more or less nothing to the training by itself. They use Enigma. I took the same Enigma more or less, but what I tried to solve using game-oriented technology and game-based technology is to add better immersion, avoiding interruption, triggering things, flexibility. So as you can see, the idea is not to add gamification or serious games in every case at any level. The idea is to think what is the issue, what works well and what works less, and how you can solve this using all these technologies and this game design patterns we have.
Maybe another comment. Serious game should also address not only individual development or individual performance or individual training. Very often we need to have a team building effect. People need to work together. They need to resolve the problems. They need to resolve the issue, but not as an individual, but as a team. And we also try to develop and customize serious game, which are on the market, in order to have team building at the same time, in order to make people, highly professional experts, working together, really to solve together the issue. And if we can have these both objective, not only training, immersion, having the right behavior at the right time, but also working together to find the best way to have the synergy of the team solving the issue, then it's really what we want to achieve. Not only individual training and performance, but team building performance.
Is there some question in the audience or in the virtual world of YouTube? Yes?
Yeah, so maybe what's the added value of these topics of gamification
just to repeat for the people on YouTube, what is the added value of serious game versus
Adding computers and
versus computer game approach?
Yeah, classical role playing.
Classical role games. Okay.
Mainly the immersion. I think the immersion, you are under very stressful situation when you are totally immersed. And then you have to decide, you have to act. If you have a role game, the old way, in a workshop, seminar, first of all, you feel much more that it's a role game. You have other participants looking at you, and okay, the immersion is not really the same.
If I can add something, in many role-playing or in many classical scenarios, you have some logistic and logistic issues. So, for example, in many role plays, you need decor, you need some, I don't know, papers or documents or something to let you feel that you are in the situation. You know that if you make that tangible, you have to create it, and if you create it one time, you cannot change it. It's fixed. It's like that. The digital way to develop these things is this flexibility and accessibility with more or less zero investments, no investment. So, for example, if you I'm sorry to take as an example always my talk, but because I know this experience well. So the experience of the childbirth in a plane, in order to develop one session, it need more or less 4 hour preparation of the seats, hebrews. They have a lot of images they have made on paper, and they stick it around, etc., in order to try create this the good settings. Okay, but first it needs 4 hours to be set it up. Then if we want to change anything, we cannot, or we have to invest time, etc., and efforts. By the digital way of doing that, you can switch from one situation to another, etc. It's a question of creativity. We don't have limitation, logistics, space, constraints, whatever. The only limitation with digital development is the creation and time and money, of course, of development. This is. There is also something, and I was trying also your question is a good introduction for my second comment. When we speak about training, there is two main situations. There is the training which is well organized in the institution or in one specific location, etc. But more and more, we are moving to a way of working and living where we are requiring training long life. And in many times, we need to train ourselves by ourselves, so individually, at home, in the train, in whatever, extra work hours, etc., because we needed a technology, rules, laws are changing so fast, so everybody need to make training. And for this situation, digital materials and gamified tools can give you this flexibility to play it whenever you want, wherever you want. At home, as I said, in the train, etc., there is some application. For example, for question-based training or whatever, we can even do it in the train. You have 1 hour train travel, you can do that. So all this flexibility for people who want to train by themselves, you cannot at any time organize things. Sometimes it's also a question of partners. You need a role playing, but you have no one with you. How we will not pay people to do that at any time. So for all this reason, for all this flexibility, and also immersion, as you said, and this capacity to decline and to develop rich material accessible anywhere at any time. Really, this gamification and serious gaming tools, or at least game technology based approach, can really help us to reach all these objectives.
And like today, if you want to organize a hybrid event with some people being present, other being elsewhere, you can also have experts coming from every part of the world, popping up in the event, and having this digitalization of the training allows you to have interactive session also with experts coming from everywhere.
Is there a question or something on YouTube? Yes?
As a non-digital enthusiast, I would like to comment on the fact that it's not necessarily more immersive to have a digital approach or digitalized approach. You can do live action role-play games in which it's extremely immersive, and they really believe you're in the character, organized and played by a few. However, it's not. I think the question is worth asking at the beginning of the project, according to the objectives of the project, whether it is necessary or preferable to use digitalized and numerical information. Sometimes it is. For example, if you have to collect a lot of data, which is difficult to deal, if you have to take notes, this is useful. Or if you have to be very flexible in changing the scenarios, etc. Doing technology for doing technology is something we try to avoid. Of course. In our case. So yeah, I want to make the case for non-digital games as well, or gamification as well, because we are in an era in which everything becomes technological, and sometimes I'm just asking myself the question, do we really need an app for this? So yeah, maybe it's important to go back to the objectives of a project and ask ourselves whether it's really necessary to develop very costly programs.
Yes, and it depends really on the briefing of the objectives. You select the best tool based on the objective you have and the training you want to deliver. I think it's no sense to make digitalization just because it's hype. It has really to have a serious added value. First of all, developing something from scratch is very costly. And we have the tendency now to see what already exists in terms of games or serious games, and then we customize it based on our current needs. And I think this is maybe the way to have economy of scales. Another thing, if you think 10 years ago when you had this role play in a workshop setting, always the teacher, the animators, the facilitators had a recording. Because it's not only important to play, but you learn, you do that also for sport, for every sport, can be football or everything else. It's important to see you afterwards and reflecting in the debriefing. Why did I act that way? What was good, less good? What can I improve? So the recording was always 10 years ago something very important for the debriefing. So today with technology, it is the process because it is recorded. You have the facilitator giving some inputs and feedback directly in real time. And it is recorded. And this is very precious for the participants to have this recording of their own play. And also for the facilitator, you can interact in real time and it is recorded. I currently have more than 20 years experience in teaching and animating, and it's not such an easy task. When you are in real time, you brief the participant, you have to take notes, you have to give some inputs to the participant, and at the same time you need to check the camera, the video recording. So at the same time you are doing 10 things. It's an issue if you teach.
If I can add a few comments on that. First, I totally agree with you making technology just to follow the wave or just to show up that you master a technology is not the good idea. We totally agree of that. Of course, we are game developers, etc. So we try to make that in every sauce, or méthode dans toutes les sauces, comme on dit. It's okay. This is our enthusiasm. But really, to become more serious, there is a lot of situation when this technology can save us. Let me give you 2 or 3 examples. The first one, we are living the COVID periods, and the 2 previous years, if we didn't have technologies for online teaching, for simulation, etc., we would have lost 2 years of teaching. So it's not a choice sometimes. It's a constraint, it's a situation, and the technology can help. Of course, last week I had my orientation meeting in order to brainstorm about what happens during the year and etc. And everybody says that it's depressing for a long time, it's not good enough, etc. But what is the other choice we had? Nothing. It's comparing 0 and something with a lot of side effects and disadvantage, but at least it works. It brings something. This is first one. Second thing, there is a lot of training that can require a lot, as I said, a lot of logistics that you cannot even have. If the idea is to train something, for example, to make the maintenance of a nuclear site or something like that, how can you access to such site? It's very difficult. It requires authorization, time, etc. You are limited by number of person, etc. For example, for medical stuff, you have to train yourself on I don't know, saving a patient, etc. You can, but you can have a role playing for something. But if you need to go, for example, inside and see his body, etc., it's a desiccation or I don't know, simulation or whatever. You cannot have that every time and 1,000th time per day. It's not possible. So there is a lot of situation when digitalization can help, can resolve these aspects. Of course, again, this is the classic question we ask as a joke. Will you travel with a captain which has only his certification only by simulator? And everybody will say no, never. And we know it. This is classic question. So even for surgery and doctors, etc., I will never accept to have a treatment by a doctor having all this study by simulation. But if he can do some amount of hours by real practicing and adding to that 2 or 3 times practicing by simulation, why not? It's an added value, and it costs more or less, as I said, if we take into consideration the scaling effects, because you develop 1 time, you use it 100 or 1,000 times, and this is the idea, why not? So again, we are not, technology obsessed or technology fanatics. No, the idea is that we are trying to answer requirements, needs, improvements by selecting the good technology. And what I said in the beginning, which I want to say it again, the game technology and the game design world is very in advance in terms of usability, ergonomy, aesthetic, realism, interaction. Why? Because at the beginning, since the beginning, a game is something we do by choice. And because we do it by choice, we are very, very, comment dire, we are very, very exigeant. Demanding. Because you will never do something by choice if it is not well done, totally ergonomic, totally attractive, etc. So we had this challenge since the beginning. The game technology and the game community know us since the beginning. And this is why, more or less, we have a kind of advance compared to the classical software development community by having this feeling and this capacity to answer high challenging scenario of attractivity, immersion, interaction, etc. And this is what I said at the beginning. We have to get this spirit, this way of doing and thinking and designing and developing more than the game by itself.
And just to build on his comment, today when I am coming not from the technology side, I'm coming from the user side, the customer side. So if I brief a startup or a company to develop a serious game for us, I want to be involved at the beginning. I want to brief them and to have my future user, my future students participating in the development. We are in agile methodology. We are using design thinking, UX technology. So the user, the people who will live the training are involved in the development. It's a co-development. So, and I think it's very important to have this co-development between technology folks and also the user, the customer.
Some other questions? I have a question. We know that serious game or gamification or some have a benefits with repeatability. You can use many times. If you stop, you can bring back the game in a simulation. You cannot stop and come back 15 minutes later. There is some things benefits when you are in a serious game. Sometimes I read some papers now of what about techno stress? You know, when people are immersive in a technology device every day, sometimes there is techno stress. How serious game or digital approach can bring people to manage this techno stress sometimes when you are in front of computers or something like that? How can we learn about, because medical staff, nursing staff, we have a lot of technology to use, and how serious game can bring to us to manage this techno stress like cyber attacks, you know? How can we reflect that?
The more you train, the more you develop spontaneous behavior and the right behavior at the right time. And it decreases the stress if you train very, 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 very many times the same situation. When you are used to have this type of accident, incident, and then knowing that you are so well prepared, the day you have an issue arising, you are managing your stress much better because you are used to it. So it's only by having repetitive training that you feel much better prepared. It's the preparation readiness which makes you confident. In any case, if a cyber attack, for example, occurs in a hospital. I have trained so many times, so different simulations. Maybe it's the only one which I have never trained, but I have developed reaction, spontaneous reaction, and the right behavior, which makes me feel more confident. And then when I go to work every day, in case a cyber attack would arise, I am prepared.
If I can add something, it's very obvious that when we start using technology, there is some intrusion of this technology, and it depends on the technology. There is some technologies which are not intrusive. For example, adding the recording, as you said, it's a camera set up in the roof, and it's okay. It's not intrusive. But putting, for example, a HoloLens device, yeah, it's intrusive. We cannot avoid. We cannot say that it's it's nothing. It's something that you feel it, and it's here, and it has some constraints, etc. This is, let's say, for any technology we use, we have this balance to make also between how much added value this technology can add and how much side effects or disadvantage or intrusion it can bring. But there is a tendency now for non-intrusive interaction. This is a big, let's say, research domain in the human-computer interaction, what we call natural user interfaces and interactions. So it is based mainly on, for example, gesture, immersion, pointing by A's, tactile, voice-based interaction. So all these technologies are making big progress, and using this technology, we can more and more try to let the technology be non-intrusive or with minimum intrusion, and avoid this schema of being connected to 6 machines and 30 robots in order to do something useful. No, the tendency now is to hide computers and calculation and devices, and to let the user be as free and as non-equipped as possible. Of course, it's not an easy task. It's not for now. We are not 100% equipped, but we are moving to that. Just to give you one example, I am now preparing a project also with HIG, with the Hôpitaux of Geneva, for people having, excuse me, I don't know the words very well, but ils ont un implant cochléaire.
Cochlear implants.
Yeah, something like this, helping them for two things. First, to hear, and other for people who have trouble of equilibrium. Balance, troubles, etc. So it's not this the idea, but the idea is in order to make tests, clinical tests for these people, it is very difficult, because when we put them in a laboratory, etc., it's okay. Because they are in a stressful situation, etc. But I discussed with, and this is the subject of our collaboration, is how to test these people in everyday situation, at home, in the street, etc. And here we have a big issue, because we have to collect a lot of data. It must be very precise, because for these people we need the eye movements, the orientation of the head, the orientation of all the skeleton, etc. And by high precision. It's not a question of 5 centimeters, it's a question of millimeters. And how to perform all that with non-intrusive technology, because they need to live in their home, and we cannot give them big robots with them, etc. They have to live, etc. And also there is a problem of energy, storage, movement, non-intrusive. So it's very challenging. So this is what I said. It will be always a challenge. We are moving toward that. We have a lot of technology helping us to go in this direction, but we will stay, let's say, fighting to find the right way, because technology brings something, but brings also constraints and disadvantage, and we have always to move in order to enhance the first part and reduce the second part, but it's an everyday challenge, let's say.
We have some skills in medical staff, nursing staffs, and we have to train decision making, stressing situation we have to manage. What about attitudes? Sometimes we have some constraint, and sometimes we have some attitudes to have with patients. How can bring technology to
You mean behavior?
in ACE behavior, attitudes with patients, attitudes with our colleagues when we are working, how we can manage this or enhance this development of competency or behavior, because sometimes it's the major issue in working with people. Sometimes it's behavior we have each other in a team. How can we enhance that?
Serious gaming is a good way to train. You mainly train behavior, attitudes, because you are put in different situations, which are you have make an analysis at the beginning. You identify with patients several typology of patients, several type of behavior, and what would be the best way to react, to help, to demonstrate empathy or understanding, but also giving advice without being too intrusive, letting the patient decide by themselves. Here we are really in a behavioral training, and you can also collect all the typology, the way patient would react, and you can have library of different behaviors, and you can train the students with all these different types of behavior, what would be the best reaction in that case. And this is possible only with a library of all the behavior possible, and it allows you in a minimum period of time with a setting. You can replay and replay and replay a lot of time the same scenarios, and it helps to train all your students. So you can have this mass training, and you can repeat the training because you have this library of all possible behavior in such condition.
Yeah. So the question you asked is it deals with what we call soft skills. It's not the technicity. It's not
Not
the
hard skills, not.
yeah,
It's just soft skills.
soft skills. And of course, as you said, soft skills are very difficult to teach because it's not a question of theory. It's a question of being in the situation and behave, and also being facing to a lot of diversity of situation. And we come back to my previous comment before, how to create all these situations. So let's take, for example, a nurse, and she has to react against many kind of passion behavior. If you make that in real case, what is the chance or the probability to see all the kind of situation in 1 year or 2 years? It's very low. But in simulation, in role playing, etc., by making taxonomies and making previous studies and developing libraries, etc., you can reduce this time and augment this probability to see everything. Of course, it will not be very real and very and exhaustive, and there will be some limitation, but at least we can see a diversity of situation, and we can train them. And this is I think, one situation where simulation, digital materials, also now we have a lot of new technologies like, for example, machine learning, etc., which we have, for example, intelligent bot, intelligent agent, which can simulate little bit human
Reaction.
Yeah, human reaction. It will not be perfect, but it's okay for training, and it's better than nothing. Again, and for all this situation, really gamified simulation or serious gaming can reduce really the time needed for teaching and learning and training all these things. It is not possible to do it theoretically.
Thank you so much. Yes?
When you introduce a new training techniques, do you go through some piloting phase with a subset of students, or I mean, with a control group, you would not go through that technique, or just do you everybody just go for it and you rely on your experience of the past years to make a comparison?
It's really a co-created briefing. And using design thinking, we always involve at the very, very beginning the users, the students, the people who are facing this situation every day, experts. So really, we test and develop. Test, then upgrade and redevelop. It's really the phase. We don't wait as it was in the very, very past. We developed something and then we test it. Now we really are in a mode of co-creation, testing, upgrading, retesting, co-creation, so we can secure that the final product is really matching the pedagogic objective we had at the very beginning. And also we involved the people who will be future students as well.
So my question was, you involve all of them?
Yes. Okay, you take a panel, representative panel of the future users.
And to give you an idea about my experience, I'm only computer engineer, okay, specialist in immersion and gamification, gaming, etc. So I rarely are the initiator of a project. I'm not capable to innovate in how to train nurses or medical staff or people in the watch industry, etc. This is more. It is not my competence domain. But what happens in many times is that people from this domain know very well what works good and where there is issues. So when they come to us, they have already some
A briefing.
some directions, and they know what they have to tackle. What they are asking us is only what is the best technological way to do it, etc. And by this discussion, me bringing my know-how of developing things, using a lot of technology, and their expertise of the domain, we start building. And of course the test is something which is very necessary. Each time we speak about something which is highly interactive, highly user-centered, etc., it is we are obliged to develop, like my colleague said,
The inputs come from the user, customer.
Because you cannot imagine the reaction and the way of doing of a user. You have to develop, to give him, test him, and you make a trial and prove cycle. This is the only way to do it. And to come again to my initial comments, this is something we know very well in the game design since the 60s, since 15 years ago, because in the game design we know very well that we cannot expect and test all the situation. So in the game design, we were the first. We introduced the alpha testing, beta testing, pilot testing, etc., which is in software, in classic software design, is not the case. We only make unit testing, integration system, and then we deploy it, that's all. And then we start maintenance. But in the game design, since 15 years ago, we are used to involve the user and to have pilot testing after the alpha and beta testing, etc., because we know that it's very difficult to test that except by doing it. And this is why we try to do also with serious games and with gamification projects.
The good start
Yes.
is to be user-centric, is really to have a very, very well-defined cahier de charge coming from the users. So the analysis, the user needs, everything must be very well done before going to the engineer side.
I'm sorry, we are close to the end of the round table. I want to ask Fernanda,
Fernanda,
because we
we
don't
don't
ask
see
her
her.
yet, if she wants to say something. We are very bavard, both of us. So I don't know, Fernanda, if you want to say something.
While you were speaking, I was thinking if I can ask you something. Based on your experience, how do you feel that the end user, I mean, the people who has the knowledge, as you were explaining, you are the expert on games, right? But we develop games to be applied in education, in health domain. How do you feel that game is being accepted by these people that has the knowledge in the application?
I didn't got the question. I cannot hear.
Yeah, it's
Very
very,
we don't.
saccadé.
Yes, there is there is.
Really, another message that I received from you than from Fernanda
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of the technology that it's not.
Fernanda, we are sorry, but can you repeat your question, because in a short way, because we have some technical difficulty to hear you.
Yes, I had the same problem during the conference. I was asking, how do you feel that the people from the other field, the experts that has the knowledge in the application, accept the idea of having a game for that, a serious game?
Yeah, it's a usual question. It's even a cultural question. So, for example, sometimes when we go to the in the banking domain or in the administration domain, which is supposed to be very serious with costard cravat, etc., and we speak about games, etc. At the beginning, they start laughing and what is that these boys are saying, etc. But yeah, this was, let's say, 10 or 15 years ago. Now, more and more, and thanks to the guy who invented the word serious gaming, we start by enhancing serious, and then we say game, and we try to and we try to explain that what is behind serious gaming is not the game itself, is, as I said before, is all the way of doing, the way of thinking, the way of designing, and all the technology advances we have. And of course, we can add ludification, gamification, techniques and patterns, etc. But the idea is we start having better acceptance from people, and now also this is thanks to the pilot projects in health, training, in education, in many sectors, for example, public and citizen sensitization, etc. There is a lot of initiatives that have shown the benefits of that and the serious of that. This is why we start having less bad reaction, as you said. So people are more willing to collaborate and to take advantage of this. This is my feeling, at least.
we gonna thanks everybody, every speakers for our presentation. Thank you, Fernanda from Sydney. I hope it's not too late, it's not too too
No,
early.
it's okay. It's the afternoon now.
It's
in
the
Sydney.
afternoon now. I don't know the
Or
the
beginning
jet
of the
lag.
evening.
Thank you so much for your presentation. We're gonna close these sessions and
Thank you very much.
everybody.
Thank you.
And
Nice.